All right, guys, so today we're going to be looking at writing expressions. So one of the first things we want to do is make sure that we all remember our vocabulary and kind of what words we might see in some of these word problems. So what we're going to be doing today, an example might be, an expression would be 5 plus n. So if we're saying the word plus, that means we're going to be adding, okay? So kind of remember those key words. So what verbal phrases and keywords should you look for to translate these operations into algebraic expressions? So some of the words that you might find might be, for addition, you might find sum, altogether, total, in all, combine, added to, plus, more than. All of these things mean that we're going to be adding something. If we're going to be subtracting, you might see words like how many do we have left, minus, how many are we going to take away, less than, remaining, the difference, decreased by, or subtracted from. So these words would all mean that we would be subtracting. So if we see these words, that means we're going to subtract. Now, if we're going to be multiplying and dividing, we might see for multiplication, we might see product times, multiplied by, squared, cubed, and guys remember that's when we use exponents, and that's multiplying it by itself. Doubled, twice, we might use that with a fraction. And then for division, we might see something like each, quotient, divided by, put into groups, share equally, split, half, how many per, like for unit rate. So all of these words, all these nice keywords are going to be what help us to determine what function we should be using. So if you need to pause this video to write these down, please feel free. Okay, so now that you have all the keywords written down, let's go ahead and let's put this into use. So what we're going to be doing, it says we're going to translate each into an expression. So that means we're just going to rewrite it into expression form. Okay, so the sum of a number and 5. So we have the sum, and we know that the sum means to add of a number and 5. So n would be our number. We don't know that number, and 5. So we're going to be adding our number plus 5. Okay. All right. Number 2, the difference of 8 and a number. So if we have the difference of something, we'd be wanting to subtract. We're going to find the difference of 8 and a number. We're going to use a variable to represent that because we don't know what that number is. So that would be 8. We're going to subtract and a number. So 8 minus some number. So the difference of 8 and a number. Number 3, so the product of 12 and a number. So for me, finding the product is something we're going to be multiplying. So we're going to multiply 12 and a number. So we can represent that a couple different ways. So you know we can do 12 right next door to n because that means to multiply. We could also do 12 times n. We could do 12 parentheses n. All of these mean to multiply. Number 4, so the quotient of a number and 9. So the quotient means we're going to be, dividing. So the quotient means dividing a number and 9. So we would do n divided by 9, or we could also do, written in fraction form, n over 9, because that means n divided by 9. All right, number 5. So we have 25 less than a number. Okay, so we have 25, and we know that's going to be less than. And guys, what does less than represent? We know we're going to be subtracting a number. So 25 less than a number. So some number, and it's going to be 25 less than that. So a number, and it's going to be 25 less than that. So we're going to take away 25. And those can be a little bit tricky because we have to put our 25 at the end, even though it's actually listed at the beginning. But if you think about it, we have 25, which is less than this n. All right. Moving on to number 6. And guys, don't forget you can always pause and rewind this video if this is moving too quickly, and that way you can catch on. So number 6, 15 times the sum of a number and 8. So let's just go back. So 15 times, we know we're going to do some multiplying. The sum, we know that's going to be adding. A number and 8. So let's figure out what our numbers are. So we have 15 multiplied by adding a number and 8. So we have 15, and we're going to multiply that by adding a number plus 8. Now guys, I chose to use parentheses because it's helping to group together so that we know that the sum of a number and 8, those are grouped, and we're going to do 15 times that. Okay, number 7. So number 7 is 7 less than the product of 8 and a number. So we have 7 less than, so that means we're going to be taking away 7. The product, so we've got some multiplication going, of 8 and a number. So we're going to have the product of 8 and a number, so 8 and a number, and we have 7 less than that. So 7 less than the product of 8 and a number, so 8 and a number, 7 less than that. Number 8, 6 more than, we know we're going to add, the quantity 4 divided by a number. So we have 4 divided by a number plus 6 more than that. So we have the quantity of 4 divided by a number, so 4 divided by a number, and 6 more. Or you can also write this as 4 divided by n, we'll group that together, plus 6. So 4 divided by n, more than 6. All right, so moving right along. So for this last little portion, we have write a phrase for each expression. So instead, you can see here's our expression, which looked just like what we were just doing. Now we're going to have a written portion of it. So this one is 4 plus z. So what word could we represent to use plus? We could use more than, we could use some. So I'm going to write a couple different down. So we could do a number more than 4. So 4, a number more than 4. So 4 with the number more than. We could also do the sum of 4 and a number. Okay, so remember we all order matters with this. So the sum of 4, so that's the one that's listed first, and a number. Now, the reason that we have a number more than 4, that number has to go afterwards because we have to list our 4 first because it's more than the 4, so the 4 would come first. So for number 10, we have p divided by 8. So we could obviously use the word divided by, so we could say a number divided by 8. Or what else could we use? We could use the quotient. So we could say the quotient of a number and 8. And this last one, number 11, this one's a little bit tricky. So we have 34 times y, right? So we're multiplying 34y minus 2. So we could say, we know that 34 and y, that would be like the product. So we could say the product of a number the product of 34 and a number minus 2, so we're going to be minusing that. Or we can get a little bit tricky with this one, and we could say 2 less. So remember, if it's less than, we always put it at the end. So we could say 2 less than 2 less than, I'm sorry, the product of 34 and a number.